Steve from Exclusive Wraps. Welcome back to Exclusive Automotive Reviews, episode number 3. In this episode, we're going to take a look at the Porsche Taycan 4S. Firstly, let's take a bit of a walk around the outside of the car. The Taycan still carries very similar body styling lines to most of the Porsche families. For the most part, you'll be able to identify this is definitely a Porsche, except for those of you that keep confusing it with a Tesla.
Really close.
Sorry guys, what can I tell you? Front end obviously is very futuristic looking. They've ditched the circular headlights of most of the Porsche family, as you can see here. This particular example also has been equipped with the Sport Design package. So basically, the front bumper is a little bit different. It has a larger intake-looking vent there. The sides have a color-coded insert there and a little bit more of a flare-out in the black plastic trim. And if we move around to the back, it also has these additional sort of winglets or fins on the rear bumper, making it look a little bit more aggressive, I suppose. Yeah, but that's what this one has there. It also has an adjustable height wing. When we take you inside the car, we can show you these features. Obviously, being an electric car, for those of you that don't know, the Taycan is Porsche's first foray into the EV market. Everything is controllable by little buttons and switches and things like that. So there's a whole heap of tech packed into this one. A couple of quick numbers for you. Starting price around $200,000 for the 4S, and it goes up for the Turbo and the Turbo S. Some of you are going to be sitting there going, how do you have an electric car that's got a turbo? And you're correct, it doesn't have a turbo.
Huh? What?
What Porsche say is that the Turbo moniker is a title that they bestow upon their top of the range vehicles in the Porsche family. So this one being the 4S obviously is an entry level Taycan. The Turbo is just referring to a high spec, faster, more powerful, better performing Porsche essentially. Let's go for a quick walk and we'll look inside. So being an EV car, why has it got a fuel flap? Well, still needs some form of fuel. This one has a charging port. So this is what your charging port looks like. This car actually has two, one for AC and one for AC or DC. So you can fast charge or slow charge. But yeah, there you go. That's what the charging port looks like there. Around the other side, we'll quickly run around the other side. We have another one here. Alrighty guys, so let's take a quick squeeze at the interior. This, to me, this is a very nice interior. Feels very luxurious, a lot of room. See the seats even putting me into place, the memory seats. We've got two cup holders, obviously that's pretty ideal. But the dash, take a look, everything is electronic, no standard speedos, no needles and all that kind of stuff. It's all touchscreen as well. So if we have a look here, this whole section has basically your entertainment, your air conditioning, all those kinds of controls. We can also open and close the boot lid and the front boot lid, the rear and front boot lid. We've got two boot lids because this is an EV, so we've got no engine.
We got no way to do it!
Lots more space for storing things. Take a look at this, this is a really cool feature. If we go into the front and rear boot lid sections, we can completely open and close the boot lid just from here. So if I hold down this little button right here, actually sorry, that's the close one. This little button right here, and then we look at the boot. That opens the boot. Now, if I hold it down, the other button, the one that I initially mentioned, hold that down. So obviously here we have all the dash controls. You have different things like drive mode, chassis height, which you can obviously lower and raise, which is a very convenient feature to have with all the horrible speed bumps and things we've got around. And then again, all your assistance, your trip comfort features, things like that. Now, another interesting feature of the interior, you have a start button, which we'll show you over here. That's basically your on-off button because you don't have a key to turn it on per se. Alrighty guys, let's do the startup sequence. Nah, just kidding, it's electric. Over to this side, this is your gear selector. So you have a park button, as a lot of cars do these days. but you've got a little paddle that goes up and down that will select your reverse, neutral, drive position. On the dash, we've got an integrated GPS map as well, which is very cool. Right in the line of sight, so you don't have to look away to see where you're going. You've got your range remaining. Now, this car has a range when fully charged of about 400 kilometers, depending on how you're driving it. If you're heavy with the right foot, dare I say, it's going to be a little bit less. What else? Makes about 640 newton meters of torque, so it might be hard to resist putting that right foot pretty flat to the floor, but hey, find yourself a 240 volt charger and plug her in. And one other very cool feature that I completely missed when I mentioned there was no gauges or dials in the car is the analog clock that you see on the dash there. It's called a throwback to Porsches of early days. They've had clocks in the vehicle since around the 1960s, so you know, there you go. You've got something that is still mechanical, not electronic, in the car. All right, guys, let's jump back outside and we'll give you a quick look at why the car came to us, and we'll drive it back into the shop and we'll get a good look at the car from the inside whilst it's moving. Let's give you a quick look at how much boot space you can cram into an EV. We'll push this little button here. That's going to open up the boot. Has a very, very sizable boot in there. It goes all the way back to the rear seats. There's nothing in between as far as I can tell. Obviously there's a little box in there already, but heaps of room in the boot at the rear. If we go around to the front, push this little button on the key. No, it doesn't open it like the rear, unfortunately. Still has a traditional boot latch mechanism. There we go. Absolutely almost useless. It has a very tiny front boot, very, very tiny. So there's not a great deal of, you could fit a very small suitcase in here probably. You've got your emergency breakdown kit and that sort of thing there. But other than that, that's for one grocery bag and all the rest will go in the back. Now, the reason the vehicle has come to us in the first place, well, as you can see, it is a satin finish. Originally, the car was a gloss finish. So we've given it a full XPEL Stealth Conversion with the satin paint protection film. We've also protected the headlights. All of the windows have been tinted, including the front screen, which has an 80% tint on there, so almost undetectable, but it still provides heat and UV rejection. The front screen also has our latest product, Steck Dyno Shield, which is there to protect the windscreen from scratches and chips and things like that. Everyone's had one when they've been driving behind a truck or a big vehicle. Stones flick up, crack on the windscreen, no good. Alrighty guys, so let's go hop back in the car and we'll drive it back into the workshop ready for our client to pick it up. Alrighty, so no handbrake or anything like that in this car. It's all electronically controlled. So if you look over here, this little toggle, can you see the R, N and D, reverse neutral drive on there? Hopefully you can. We just need to put the foot on the brake and pull down on this one. And the D will come up on the dash for drive. And away we go. Now I don't know if you can hear that sound. It's certainly not a turbocharger. It has a bit of a whooshing sound. What that actually is amplified gearbox and engine noises from the vehicle. Porsche have amplified them in one way or another to give the driver a little bit of feedback, and so they can tell what the car's doing, I suppose, because with these EVs it's pretty awkward driving them and you've got no idea of where you are in, you know, a rev range or anything like that, because you don't have traditional mechanics. All right guys, that about wraps up our review of the Porsche Taycan 4S. Thanks for tuning in. As usual, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, follow us, turn on those notifications, and we'll keep you up to date with all the new and cool vehicles that we're reviewing and working on. Other than that, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.